Hello, everyone. This is Jeanette Chaliga with VGA, and I am here with an upcoming speaker of ours. We've got Fiona Brooker all the way from New Zealand. Hi.
Hi, so lovely to see you from the next day. I'm in the future, you're in the
You're in
past.
I love it. That's right. Yes, you are. I didn't even realize until we had set up this Zoom to do this interview that you lived in New Zealand. That is fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great place to live.
Yeah.
Just a little, and it's been really good because now we're connected up with the rest of the world so easily using Zoom and things like that.
I know. So many benefits came from the pandemic that you didn't expect, and to be able, and I feel that Zoom is one of them, to be able to connect more easily all around the world. And I know Zoom was there prior to, the pandemic and all, but now everyone's very comfortable using video conferencing and things like that. So I think that's wonderful. And so before we hit record, I was asking you a little bit about yourself, and I didn't realize you're a full-time genealogist, a professional genealogist. How long have you been doing that?
Well, genealogy has been something I've been doing since I was a child. I'm one of those ones that grew up all the way through, encouraged by my mother originally. And then, yeah, it's pretty much taken over my life. So my company's
It
been
does
going
for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Someone asked the question the other day of what do you do outside genealogy? And it was like, is there stuff to do outside of genealogy? So yeah, the company's been going for about 12 years now, Memories in Time, and I do a range of different things within that. And that really comes from, to an extent, the fact that I am in New Zealand. And when you live in New Zealand, your family had to probably come from somewhere if you're a Pākehā like I am. So pretty quickly we're out and we're discovering the rest of the world as well with our research.
Mm-hmm. That is fantastic. And obviously you do speaking as part of your genealogy business. Are there other parts besides doing research for people that you include with your business?
Sure is. Yeah, so absolutely doing research, and that can involve the whole range. That could be just a record pickup at an archive for someone, a quick search in some electoral rolls and other records to find heirs to estates, and I do some contract work for companies around the world for that, sort of looking for the New Zealand descendants as such. Right through to helping clients that have become friends now with their research, and then yes, into speaking as well. And that rolls into doing things like organising the Christchurch Family History Expo that's in August, to running Talking Family History with Michelle Patient, where we have our Zoom lounge where we arrange the chairs and have everyone come and gather with us every couple of Friday nights in New Zealand and Australia, and from the UK as well. In fact, Michelle's over in the UK at the moment while we're doing this.
And you can still do it even though she's traveling. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. She's been in Australia and now she's in the UK, and we just keep matching on Zoom. And in fact, it was with Michelle that we got into Zoom in the first place because of a tour that she'd organised with Blaine Bettinger and Angie Bush to come to New Zealand, and Johnny Pearl, that was meant to happen right at the start of the pandemic. And so we learned to use Zoom really quickly.
Yeah.
And because of that, we'd bought the Zoom subscription. So then it was, well, what are we going to do with this now? And so Talking Family History came out of that, and started off as just an every Friday night come and hang out, because let's face it, we're all locked up at home, and then has developed into a subscription model now as well. So it's meant to be an hour, but sometimes we get out after 3 hours. We chat a lot around the formal part, but we do some fun things in that as well. So it's really cool.
No, it sounds fun. What a fun way to spend a Friday night, like just to hang out with people that have similar interests than you, and to be able to ask questions and get answers. I would go to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's great because their eyes don't glaze over when you're telling some complicated story about how you found something finally in your research.
Yeah, they can relate. Maybe like, oh, where'd you find that? I
Yeah.
want to go see it. And they get excited. Absolutely. So I know that you're super busy with all of your genealogy business. Do you ever get a chance to work on your own tree, or are you just like overwhelmed and you're like, I can't, like, do you?
Yeah, it's really funny. At the start of this year, one of the things we did at TFH was to actually get ourselves to set goals. And so we were doing a mid-year review last night in the session. And I brought up my goals for the year and basically put crosses through them all because I hadn't achieved any of my particular goals. But what I had achieved instead was that because I'm writing a talk for that's going to be recorded in a couple of weeks for another conference, I actually used my own family history for that. And so I've had a really nice, extensive little piece of research at the moment. And it's been great because I've been connecting up with people around the world, both using the DNA results and using people that have got family trees online. Just before I came on air with you today, I've been buying some certificates, trying to get all the siblings' birth certificates from Scotland for this particular family. And I looked at this page of Janet Thompson's in Lanarkshire and went, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, let's pick that one. And it's actually worked out to be the right one. So I'm really happy now because she was proving a little elusive to find. And yes. I now know that my ancestor was a potato merchant and salesman for a period of time.
Wow.
So go figure about that.
I know. Let's see. You would think like, maybe they'd want to branch out and do more than just potatoes, like.
Yeah, well, after that, he becomes a ploughman. So I presume he might be ploughing up the potatoes instead and getting the paddocks ready and the fields ready. Who knows?
Yeah. That's so fun. That's so fun. And you said you were planning a big family history expo. Is that a one-day event or a weekend or?
Yeah, that's a weekend. It's sort of in conjunction with, the Christchurch one is in conjunction with the Christchurch City Libraries in Tauranga, which is our central library. And up in Auckland, which is another major city up in the North Island of New Zealand, they've been running an expo now for 6 or 7 years. And I'd always said to our library down here, hey, we should do this as well. So about 3 years ago, I convinced them that we should do this. And so we'd planned the 2020 Expo. It was to come the weekend after the Auckland one. And Auckland went ahead. And then in that week, we went back into lockdown. And so our one went to Zoom. So we thought, that's okay, we'll do 2021 instead. Go up to the Auckland Expo, have it all in person, go into lockdown the following week, have our one on Zoom. So this year, third time lucky, we're going to have our Christchurch Family History Expo in person at the library. And we have some fabulous speakers, both in person and some of our internationals are recorded and coming in.
For that. That sounds great. I wish you all the luck with that. What is your role with planning it? Like, do you have a specific?
So there's only a very small group of us, 4 or 5, depending on sort of the week that we have our meetings. It's a very collaborative process. I'll come up with ideas, others will come up with ideas, and we just make them work. It's a great team to work with. And as I say, it's sure better go in person this year because I just don't know if we're going to have the energy to have another go next year.
Oh my goodness. Yes. As I said, I wish you luck. And I'm sure that now that you'll be going through the in-person the first time and figuring out some of those things, if you go to have it again next year, a lot of stuff will fall into place a lot quicker than figuring it out for the first time. Yeah.
Absolutely. It feels very much, even with this one, because there's things that we haven't been able to do, because when we've gone into the Zoom version, we've cut our program in half, for example. So, we have some things hung over from the last 2 years that we'd really like to do in person. So we're really looking forward to that. Yeah. We're just about ready to release the program at the moment. It's just coming together. We're just waiting for some of the last sponsors that are sponsoring us to give us their talks. And then we'll finalize that program and have it up and ready to go. So we're taking over the library. It's going to be very exciting.
Congratulations ahead of time. That sounds so much fun. I wish you weren't so far away from me.
You can come visit one year.
That would
Our
Yeah.
borders are open. We welcome visitors to New Zealand now.
I love it. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your upcoming program for VGA, which is titled From Bookshelf to Coffee Table, Creating a Captivating Family History. Can you share a little what we're going to learn in that presentation?
Sure can. So one of the things I used to do, and when I had more time before the company sort of took off, was I got into digital scrapbooking. And the reason I got into digital scrapbooking is when scrapbooking became a big thing, I thought, oh, I'd really quite like to do that. But I also knew that I would be the sort of person who would find some really pretty scrapbook papers and then never be able to cut them up. And I would end up with a collection of that. It's a bit like the fabric collection that might be sitting in a drawer somewhere as well. And so I would have a whole lot of scrapbook papers and nothing actually achieved out of it. And then after my mum passed away, I was looking for a way I could share her family recipe book, the one that's got all her nice handwriting in it and the recipes that we've grown up with. And I discovered digital scrapbooking. And the website that I discovered at this time was called Digital Scrapbook Place. And I ended up hanging out at this place for probably about 8 or 9 years until it actually closed. And what was really cool is the head designer at that time was a lady called Lauren Baven, who's actually a Kiwi as well. So we'd done a few things over the years where we've run scrapbook weekends and bits and pieces like that. So the digital scrapbooking came along, and it's a wonderful place to be because of the fact that you can grab materials and you can make multiple pages and you're never actually cutting something up permanently. So that was really cool. And I've made a few family history orientated books with that. And it's taking it from that step of having a family history book that's all just words on a page to having a family history book that's more like a glossy magazine on your coffee table.
Yeah.
The ones that have words on the page, you tend to have a quick flick through and then they end up on the bookshelf. Whereas the coffee table one will sit around and people will visit and they'll flick through it. So the talk that I'm giving is all about taking some of your research, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. Is we're very good as family historians of researching. We're not quite so good at actually doing something with that research. So with another friend, Jenny Lowe, we worked a way of making it as accessible as possible, not necessarily taking it all the way to a digitally scrapbook page, but looking at some sort of different ways you could do it in between to get the research out of the computer and into the hands of the people that are actually wanting to see what you've done and hopefully not have their eyes gloss over too much.
I love
so
that.
We'll be covering a little bit of that and some steps in that.
Well, what you said is so true. I mean, how much research have I done on my own tree and only I know about it? And that's on me. And I know I'm supposed to write. That's the last step of the genealogical proof standard. I'm supposed to write. I'm supposed to get it out, so that future generations can benefit from all the work I've done and it doesn't get lost. And so I love your idea of being creative about it. And, it doesn't need to just be I don't want to say dry, but, like just words on a page that someone has to read, but to add color to it and images. And even if I imagine you'll go over, if you don't have a picture of a person, you could substitute a picture of their occupation or something like that to help.
Absolutely. And it's sort of rolled out of a system I put together called Plan to Publish. And I love going camping because when I go camping, my brain sort of frees up for a period of time and I come up with some wild and wacky ideas. So this was a camping holiday, wild and wacky idea of 12 steps to actually getting some family history published during a year. So we'll talk a little bit about that during the session as well. And yeah, the biggest thing is just to get something out there. It does not have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that is probably the most important thing that I'll be sort of talking about.
I believe it. Because I've had that same anxiety. Well, I'm not done. I haven't found that. But you'll never be done. And I've heard so many people say that, like, don't wait till you're done. You'll never be done, you know? And so you are speaking to my heart. I understand. I'm hearing you and I can't wait.
And the thing is, you can guarantee as soon as you actually publish something, someone else in the family that you've given a copy to will go, oh, but I've got that, or I know this. And you're like, I've only been doing this for, 20 years, and now you're finally telling me this piece of information, and that you've got that document I've been elusively looking for the last, 15 years. So yeah, you really have to get it out there and tell them what you're doing. And sometimes showing them is the only way to really engage the others in the family.
Yeah, jog them to be like, oh, well, she's missing this piece, and kind of, I love it. Then you can do, your next, family history book, volume 2 or second edition. Right. Add in, what you didn't catch the first time.
All our favorite books have multiple editions, and I'm sure they pick up errors and they fix things in every edition going through. So why are family histories any different?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Fiona, you are inspiring. I can't wait.
That's what I want to be. This is a really good time of the year to do this talk, because you've got a whole 6 months before Christmas. Mm-hmm. And you can actually get something achieved in that 6 months and make it the Christmas presents to give everyone this year.
Wow. Fiona Brooker, thank you so much. This is fantastic. I cannot wait for your program coming up for VGA, and I'm sure everyone else is going to be super excited to attend as well. So thank you so much for doing this little interview with us.
No problem at all. Look forward to hopefully seeing some of you live, and some of you will be watching the recording, no doubt.
Yes.